Hello. You guys there?
We
Yes.
are here.
All right, so we're on now. For those of you watching, you probably already know because that's why you'd be watching. We're with Seventh Son, Devon Kreps, and Justin Stang. I know that because I asked, and and I'm very happy to have them on. They're one of the Pride of Florida breweries in Dunedin, Florida, or for some other people, Dunedin, Florida. It's like what, 45 minutes northwest or 30 minutes northwest of, I guess, downtown Tampa.
Yeah.
That's correct.
All right.
All right. So why did you guys choose to go out to Dunedin?
Take that one.
Yeah, we picked Dunedin after we moved here and we got a place in Seminole Heights and we were researching where we wanted to start the brewery. I wanted to be closer to the water and just to find a nice little town that would support a small Main Street business, like a little brewery like we have. We started down south in Gulfport and just kept working our way up the coast every weekend, visiting a new community. We came back to Dunedin like probably about 3 or 4 weeks in a row after we continued to meet more people and make more friends here with the Dunedin House of Beer and the Dunedin Brewery, and just kind of noticing that there was a lot of beer savvy people here, craft beer that is, um, in the area, and we felt like they would support a brewery a lot more than, a lot easier than a community that wasn't familiar, that didn't already have a brewery.
Sure. And you guys do. We're gonna get into them a little bit. And right now I'm drinking. Devin, you gotta pronounce it for me because I heard how you pronounce it.
Yeah, it's French. The original beer was called Rage and Conquer, which is the translation. This is pronounced Rage et la Conquête, and that's the French way to say that. So we took Rage and Conquer and we aged it in a gin barrel, and now it's Rage et la Conquête.
Yeah, this is a collaboration with Gravity Brew Lab, which is down here in Miami. The label is really cool, like the skulls on it, and it's a really cool label. It's a French saison, right?
Yeah, we used primarily Brettanomyces in this one, but with the Saison grist, it's hopped like an IPA, and the botanicals in the gin barrel just kind of create a really complex beer. So I guess we could call it a Saison.
Yeah, we kind of didn't know what to call
It's a hybrid,
Yeah.
so to speak.
The color on it is really cool. I mean, it almost looks like lemonade. It's and the smell on it, it just the gin jumps at you. I mean, it's really nice.
it.
Yeah, it's got a little vanilla backing too from the wood.
Right. What's cool about it is, like you were saying, it's a very complex beer, and you guys are known for making a lot of these beers with Brett. A lot of beers that are more challenging, I think, on a palate. So it's do you find that people come into your brewery and have never had beers like this before and are like, whoa, what is this? Because I mean, you can have a saison and then you can have a Brett.
Yeah, I mean, people
Yeah.
come in all the time, and yeah.
Yeah, it's very frequent. And what's funny is when you have somebody that's not even a craft beer drinker and it's their first experience in the brewery, and they'll grab our most technical beer with the most different layers into it, and they'll dive into that first
Yeah,
and
and that's
fall
what
in
they
love
really
with that
like.
beer. It's pretty cool to see that happen.
Yeah, this beer is extremely complex. I mean, there's so many different things going on as you're drinking it, as you're smelling it. It's crisp. You definitely pick up that vanilla. You definitely pick up some of the gin, and then the funkiness from your Brett. It's a super complex beer. You can't really get this anymore, right?
Now that one's sold out in one day. So it's around in someone's cellars.
So I
You're gonna have to trade for it, is what you're saying.
Yeah, that would be the best way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so all right. So I read somewhere that, I guess, going back, I'm gonna keep enjoying this, and unless there's something you want to add about this beer, I mean, I guess the one thing, I guess, before we move on is, how did you get the collaboration going with a small, I mean, tiny, not really even open yet, Gravity Brew Lab from Miami?
I've just been friends with Diego for a long time. When I used to trade beer more heavily on rate beer, we would just send each other beers and just establish a relationship through meeting at tastings and things. And stayed in touch ever since. I don't trade as much as I used to. I just don't have the time. But we talked about one day we were going to do that, and the gin barrel had been bounced around. Then it just turned into a collaboration that way.
Cool. I'm always interested in how the collaborations come about. I mean, I talk about them in the interviews a lot because it's cool to see brewers from across the country just get together, and then you see like the best of what one brewery does, and they pair it up with the best of another brewery does, and what you get is like sometimes like these ridiculous things that you never thought possible. I would have never thought gin barrel, but man, it makes this thing really. I mean, it's a really crisp, but it's got so many, like you said, so many layers. It's such a great pairing to put in that barrel. So, all right, I read somewhere that you guys actually asked Dunedin Brewery, I guess maybe for their blessing before you opened up in Dunedin. Is that true?
It's true.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we wanted to make sure that we were going to be able to work in synergy with our neighbors in the industry here, and they were very receptive. I mean, they helped us out through the whole way. They were actually our general contractors.
For the build-out.
They essentially built the brewery for us.
Right. Look at that. Did you feel like you needed to ask them because Dunedin is such a small town? I mean, would it have made a difference to you if you were, let's say, Tampa, that's significantly larger and already a lot of breweries involved?
I guess because it's such a small community, it was important for us to have a good relationship with them, and it just seemed like the right thing to do to approach them. I mean, they've been here for 18 years, I believe, 17, 18 years. So, I mean, having them on our backs and know that, they would help us out was really made us feel a lot better about choosing this community.
That's one thing that I've noticed about the craft beer industry is how much the other breweries help each other out. It's pretty awesome to watch. There's no other industry that I've ever seen that's so collaborative. And even if it's not a collaboration and when the product is being put out, it is collaborative in, hey, we're going to help you get open. The more the merrier. There's room in the market. And so far, I mean, you haven't seen any issues with room in your market, have you?
No,
not at all.
I mean, that was another reason, too, why it was important for us to ask them and talk to them about it, have a dialogue, because it is the brewing industry is a small community and it's tight-knit, and, we didn't really want to step on anyone's toes, and it turned out to be great. And honestly, I hope they feel the same way that, I think our businesses benefit each other. I mean, certainly they send people our way all the time. We send people their way all the time. And then whenever we have events or anything going on, if they have something, it definitely boosts our business. And I know that vice versa is true. So it's been really great. And we're in a really small town, and it's not too small for two breweries.
That's cool. I mean, that's really cool. All right, Devon, I'm going to get a little bit back into your we were talking before the interview, but you start your first, I guess, you first started getting into craft beer very young. And did you have a family at all in culinary arts, or what was the...
No.
What drew you to that?
Really, my family is artists. My dad has done the majority of the artwork, including the logo for the brewery, and my parents actually met in art school. So, the artistic piece of it was a draw for me with beer, and it was quite frankly one of the reasons why I got into it. Plus, I also really enjoyed math and science. So when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I didn't want to pick one side, and then found that you could actually get a degree in fermentation science, and so that's the direction I went in. But yeah, I mean, I tried craft beer, before I was legally allowed to do so. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I answered the question or not.
I mean, I think you did. You got a degree in fermentation sciences from Oregon State, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
What drew you into that? Because obviously, if you're getting a degree in fermentation sciences, there's I'm sure there's a bunch of different scientific ways you can go, but for someone who is heavily into craft beer to go into fermentation science, I guess it leads to, I know what I'm going to do when I get out of school.
Absolutely. I mean, that was the reason that I got involved in it. It's actually under their food science program, and you could emphasize in food science or you could emphasize in fermentation science. And in fermentation science, you studied beer, wine, and then just kind of general fermentation. But the direction was considered, you're either going to go in the beer or wine industry in some way, shape, or form. I always wanted it to be in the craft industry, and I always wanted it to be with my own business. That's what I hoped for. Through the path I've taken, there were times I wasn't sure if I would end up with my own business, but here we are. So it's all worked out well.
It's awesome. What year did you graduate with that degree?
I can never remember if it's 2001 or 2002. But I should know this, but I think it was 2001.
So you've got a long history already in brewing, and I know that. I guess my other question is, I mean, we talked about it, you said that you always knew you wanted to go into craft beer, but what would 10-year-old Devon have said if I would have asked her, or if I had a time machine and gone back to that time in your life? What did you think you wanted to go into then?
I honestly didn't know. It was kind of when I was that young, my biggest focus was, do well in school so I can go to whatever college I want and do whatever I want, without even really thinking about it, what it was going to be. I just wanted to have all the options open to me. And then when I finally graduated high school and I got to that moment, I was like, oh, God, I guess I should probably figure out what I want to do now. So my first year, I actually went to school in Boulder, and I had no clue what I wanted to study. I would ask people all the time what they were studying to see if that was interesting to me. It wasn't until I was visiting a friend in Arizona for spring break and met a guy from Corvallis, Oregon, where Oregon State is, who told me about this program, and I was like, that's it. That's for me. It all came together.
There you go. That's pretty mature 10-year-old Devon there. Oh, I just want to do good in school. And
that's me.
If you would have asked me at 10, I probably would have said like, I want to ride dolphins across the sea. Like, I don't know.
I literally remember sitting on my lawn thinking about like how 18 seemed really far away, but that was my goal, is to be able to do whatever I wanted. So.
That's really mature. That's awesome. All right, Justin, what were you doing before brewing?
Before brewing, I was raised on a farm in central Illinois, my family's farm. And after I left there to go to college, I wound up down in Florida, and I ran a parasail and beach service company in Panama City Beach. We rented wave runners, pontoon boats, parasail rides, all that kind of stuff. So, professional beach bum, I guess you would say.
That was a lot more fun than Devon's life.
Yeah, right?
Quite a bit different, yeah.
I just want to study. I'm going to go on the beach and ride wave runners.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Yep, surf and all that good stuff. So I got that out of my system pretty early. Started volunteering in a brew pub at that time, and that's kind of where it all started.
That's cool. Which one?
McGuire's Irish pub in Destin, Florida.
Destin.
Mm-hmm.
So Devon, were you from Florida originally, or how'd you end up here?
No, it's kind of a windy story, but basically we met each other at Sweetwater in Atlanta, and we started talking about doing this project together. It's both the dream of both of ours, and found that we both had the kind of skill sets that would complement each other. So Justin, like you said, had been living in Florida before, and said, I think there's a real opportunity there. Why don't we investigate this and see if this is where we want to go? We want to take this somewhere where we actually want to be, first off, and then place with opportunity. And so that's why we started looking at Florida.
And enter Cigar City?
What's that?
Enter Cigar City?
Yeah, Cigar City, they had their grand opening about right when we moved to the area.
Yeah.
And that was pretty exciting and encouraging to see their success right off the bat. It made us feel a lot better about what decisions we had made and where we chose to build a brewery.
Yeah, it's incredible how quick they've just blown up. And I think it's the power of social media nowadays has changed everything. I didn't know until I started writing about beer how amazing social media was.
Yeah.
To be able to have someone like Vinny from Russian River a part of my site here in Miami, almost the exact polar opposites of the country, to have Mikkel on the site from Europe.
Yeah.
You start to see that if you use social media, or if you've got something that you can promote through social, how quick you can spread the word. It's just amazing. That's my I'm just dated myself. These kids with their social media.
Yeah.
Devon, before you went to Sweetwater, you were at Anheuser-Busch.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know it's a whole other monster, I can imagine. But for everything that people say about InBev and Miller Coors and all stuff, I mean, they've got some of the premier brewers. They've got the best technologies. They've got the best ingredients available to them. I mean, if they really wanted to produce a craft, let's say craft quality beer,
Sure.
they could probably, produce an amazing product. It's not in their business model, but the fact that you work there says something about you, about your skills. So I guess what are some of the skill sets that you think prepared you to work somewhere like Anheuser-Busch? And then we'll just do this in one question or two-part question.
Mm-hmm.
What did you learn while you were at Anheuser-Busch that you think helped you grow into the brewer you are today?
I think that, well, first off, let me just start that, obviously I wanted to get into the craft industry. That was what I was studying for, and I had the opportunity to work at Anheuser-Busch. It was kind of like do I want to get into that kind of thing, but I was like, well, it's a good opportunity. What harm can it do? Might look good on my resume. So I started doing it, and I started out at their pilot facility in St. Louis, which was basically they were just doing, kind of product development for the same types of beers that they have out in the industry. At the time, they were working on McUltra. And that was a very hands-on job. I mean, it was still a pretty automated system, but that was like me actually working in the cellars, filling fermenters, working in the brew house, all that kind of stuff. That was really awesome because I got an actual hands-on brewing experience with very high-tech equipment. And it was still a pretty relaxed atmosphere because it was people just out of college. It was like a one-year position. Then from there, you move on to one of their big production facilities, and that's when I got transferred to their Cartersville facility, which is a whole other animal. I mean, that brewery was producing 8 million barrels a year. It's one of their smaller breweries, and they have 12. One of the things that was really awesome about working for them was their really huge commitment to quality. I mean, it was like the number one thing that they cared about. They managed every single metric, every point of data that you could on the beer through, from the water to the grain all the way through the process till finished beer. They were looking at every parameter that you could measure and making sure that everything was in line. So you get to learn the process down to that detail level, and that was amazing. The second part that was really beneficial was the management aspect of it and the planning. I would run a shift, and sometimes it was overnight shifts, sometimes it was afternoon, days, whatever. You have a group of Teamsters that's running the operation. It was troubleshooting. It was managing, what beer is going to go where, when, what happens if there's some sort of mechanical issue. So it was great at teaching me troubleshooting, planning, management, and then getting a really great detailed look on and how the beer, every piece of the beer. I would say though, it's kind of funny because during like holidays and stuff, they would try to do like their version of a craft beer kind of for fun. Your operation is so not set up to make that type of beer. They actually have this struggle to make a craft beer. Because at the time too, it wasn't really something they understood or had a whole lot of respect for. So their operation wasn't set up to make a good beer. They're set up to make really perfect Budweiser, Bud Light, all of those things. But they do it perfectly.
Right. No, and again, I mean, look, is there more flavor in this? I mean, there's no question. When you drink something like this, you really can see the thought process behind what you guys are doing. And as it warms, by the way, the smell is just becoming so. It's just huge. The flavors are really sitting on your tongue too. So I really recommend if somebody doesn't have a bottle, or if somebody has a few bottles of this, be like a nice craft beer drinker.
Sure.
Trade it to somebody else so that more people can try Seven Sons beer. Don't hoard it. Come on. All right. That's my political little blurb. But there's something to be said for being able to produce the same quality product every single time, and that's probably the hardest thing that you guys have to take care of. When you're doing stuff with bread, it becomes almost impossible, doesn't it?
We've been working with bread enough now where we have a couple brands that we produce on a regular basis that have been very consistent. In the beginning, we were a little bit concerned about that, so it was more of an experimental approach. Now we've honed in on it pretty good. We feel confident that we can reproduce these beers one after another. The barrel-aged versions of the beers like this may be a little more difficult because they're single barrels. There's no blender involved in these.
Yeah. The barrels will dictate a lot of what happens to the beer too. I mean.
Yeah. Every barrel has its own kind of attitude, so to speak.
Sure.
Yeah.
Justin, what were you doing that said, hey, I'm gonna go work at this brew pub, and then I guess for both of you, how did you end up at Sweetwater?
I kind of did a little bit of nomadic volunteering at brewers all around the country, mostly in the Front Range of Colorado, just trying to do whatever I could, sweep the floors, clean up the kegs, do what I could just to get my foot in the door, learn a little bit of the language, try to meet some people, and was successful with that over about a course of 6 months. I got a shot at a job at Sweetwater, so I picked up and moved to Atlanta right away.
Cool. What was it that drew you into craft beer in the first place? I mean, Devon obviously was, as it usually is, the woman is usually more mature and responsible. I know what I'm going to do, and A, B, C, D, I'm there.
Right.
Like myself, the men just kind of. But what is it that drew you into this industry and said, I'm going to go bust my ass, get my foot in the door?
Well, that's a good question. Initially, I had a hobby of just trying new beers. I was almost obsessed to try new beers. It didn't matter what it was, who made it. I just wanted to try different new beers, and then that led to me visiting new breweries. And it just kind of spiraled out of control from there. My infatuation with beer just became, I want to learn how to make it, so I'm volunteering 1 day a week, with no pay. And, there came a point where I was like, I can't really be a beach bum for the rest of my life. I should probably figure out some sort of career path here.
Doesn't it suck when you hit that point?
If it's going to be anything, beer sounds pretty awesome. So took a significant pay cut and awful hours to get my foot in the door in these breweries, and it's paid off pretty well so far.
That's awesome. And Devon, how did you get to Sweetwater?
After about 4 years at Anheuser-Busch, I was starting to sort of, get the desire back to go back to why I wanted to be in this industry at all. And so I was just kind of searching for jobs out there. In Atlanta, there wasn't a whole lot of opportunities. There weren't very many craft breweries, and just cold put my resume in at Sweetwater, had no idea, didn't expect anything. And then next thing you know, I got a call, and they were interviewing me for their production manager position. And let me tell you, that was the most amazing and educational experience ever. I mean, pretty much managing every organizational piece of the entire production facility. It was so much fun, and so always something going on, and it was great. And plus, the people that we worked with there were really fun. We had a good time, and we had fun making beer. It was good. Yeah.
They're another brewery that is amazing at producing really high quality, consistent product. And so I guess, was it the skills that you gained at Budweiser or at Anheuser-Busch that you think is what got you into a production manager position?
Absolutely, 100%. Like that, those credentials were what got my foot in the door in that kind of position. They had a lot of respect for knowing the quality control procedures that Anheuser-Busch has, and they wanted to, at the time they were kind of struggling to produce enough beer. They couldn't keep up with the demand at all, so that was a big piece of it was, okay, what can you do to help us catch up? What ways of running the business can we get this caught up and keep up with our demands here? So that was, it was challenging, but great.
Sure.
And I owe it to working with a lot of really great people, honestly. And Justin was actually a part of that too. When he came on, he you'd set down, okay, here's what I need produced tonight, and most people maybe do a quarter of it. He would get all of it done and more, and been cleaning tanks and learning the brewing process. It was he was great at that. So that's a big part of the reason why we started chatting about doing our own thing. So
that's cool. I gotta imagine it. Anheuser is they're a quality-driven, company, but they're also a completely profit-driven company as well.
Absolutely, 100% true.
Right. So where you guys now at 7venth are also a quality-driven brewery, and obviously if you're running a business, you can't run a business without thinking about profit at the end of the day either. So you're still running a business, but is it difficult to apply? Is it difficult to find the balance there between, because I know you guys, so, I mean, you guys are producing beers, I gotta imagine, that are more expensive to produce glass to glass between Anheuser-Busch beers and 7 Sun beers. And you charge a little more for it too, but are you applying the exact same principles, or is it different? Is it a mishmash?
Very different.
Yeah, very different. What we're doing is 7 Sun. You know, as far as quality and consistency, that's in our minds the same way it would be for an Anheuser-Busch facility. But we're doing things kind of as inefficiently as possible, it seems at times. And some of the ingredients we use just don't really make sense, you know, to be really profitable. Occasionally, you know, we'll see people come in the brewery and have a little bit of sticker shock when they see how much our beers cost. But the majority of people that visit our space, they see what we're doing, you know, they get it, they see how small it is, they meet us, they talk to us, and they understand that this isn't McDonald's, you know, that we're producing a high-end beer, and it's expensive to make.
Right. And let me have your back here for a second, because your brewery, you know, guys, if you've never been, they sell you the beer in these glasses, and you can see it there. They got this 4-ounce mark and a 12-ounce mark. You can go in and get 4 ounces for like $2 on most of your beers. So it's really not. I mean, it's really not that bad. And you're getting something that, again, is very expensive to produce. So, you know, I don't think anyone's gonna have an issue paying $2 to try 4 ounces of your beer.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things we do there.
Yeah.
And I think that's why also part of the reason why craft beer grew, I think it was 15% last year in a down economy. People are going back to, you know, they want products that they can taste the art makers' hands, the effort. You know, for cliches term, blood, sweat, and tears. And you can do that when you walk into your brewery. First of all, you feel like you're in this like cozy environment. You see the brew house, you see the fermentation tanks, you see the barrels. All your staff is really inviting, really informative. And then you can go and you can try all your beers that you've got on, you know, whatever, 10, 16, whatever it is that you've got. And you can pay generally $2 for a 4-ounce pour of all of them, and you're really not walking out. You're not going to be able to try all of them, first of all, because you're not going to be able to walk out of there.
Bring a friend and share.
Sure. And again, share this bottle if you have it. Be nice. And help them get their breweries spread around the country. Come on, people. Now, I talked about that a lot. You said you were a beer trader. I talked about that with Ryan from Funky Buddha, and the effects of beer trading on the growth of Funky Buddha. I mean, the Maple Bacon Coffee Porter made its way all the way across the world, and the next thing he knows is he's getting calls from, you know, Mikkeller to go do a beer festival in Denmark.
We have the same experience.
Have you noticed that that's a part of? Is that first? I guess have you noticed that happens with your brewery? Then is that you think that's healthy for an upstart brewery to have people trading your beer away?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. It's definitely got our foot in the door with the same festival that you mentioned there, Mikkel's Festival over in Denmark. You know, without the beer traders, you know, it pretty much just stays local. And the good thing is when it leaves the area via beer traders, it's going to other people that are pretty loud. You know, they're really enthusiastic about beer. When they have something they like, they're going to spread the word for you that way. And I think that's one of the best things that you can do for your brewery. As far as
we were talking a little bit, and we were talking a little bit before the interview about the importance of catering. Not necessarily the product you're producing, because there's a definite identity to 7 Sun and what you guys are doing, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. But catering to those people who aren't necessarily the ones that are going to pick up beer to trade it. People who may be walking into a craft beer production, a tap room for the first or second time. I think it would be intimidating for somebody to walk into 7 Sun, who's maybe a craft beer virgin, and see that board and think, what's Brettanomyces? What are all these hops they're talking about? I got to give you credit, though, having all Cicerone certified employees really helps with that. I saw that actually while I was there. You know, people coming in and asking, you know, what is this stuff, and they didn't receive like a look of, oh God, you know, they received an answer. So is it important to make sure, and I think I know the answer to this, it might be a stupid question, but is it important to make sure that in order to promote the growth of your brewery, other small breweries in your position, that you're catering to people who aren't necessarily those people as well? The people that are going to get your beer traded.
Yeah, when we're hiring staff to work the tasting room, you know, after they go through their training, which they'll work with another bartender that's got a lot of experience there for a while before we let them go out on their own. You know, we basically instill the mindset that we want every employee there to treat the customer as if they were me or Devon. So if somebody comes in and needs some help ordering a beer, I want them to be as educated as we are and walk them through the process and take the time to have a meaningful experience and really let it soak in what we're doing there.
What do you think is something that if I walked in the 7venth Son tomorrow and said I never had a craft beer before, what are some of the beers that you think you would recommend at 7venth Son that I could?
Yeah, she does that more than I do.
I just wanted to say and kind of add into the whole conversation on this is back when we first started, I was bartending, and one of my favorite things was figuring out which beer somebody that was totally new to craft beer, figuring out a beer that they would like. And to answer you honestly, I mean, probably the most frequently liked beer by people who've never had craft beer at our place is Graffiti Orange. It's an American wheat beer. We brew with orange peel and lactose sugar, and we age it on whole split vanilla beans for 24 hours. But what's funny and what I liked the most about it was you never really knew. Like, people go all over the place. I mean, you can get a guy who's only ever had Bud Light, and the next thing you know, he loves, like, Intergalactic's IPA, you know, or Time Bomb.
Amazing.
Yeah, or you get a girl who's only ever had McUltra, and then she loves sour beer, or she loves a Berliner Weiss. You know, what's interesting is you do start to see a pattern, and one of the things that, you know, I would always do, and I know that a lot of the people that work for us do, is they'll say, well, what do you usually drink? And that kind of gives you a basis on, okay, well, try this, and then based on that person's answer, then they can kind of go in the right direction. But one thing that I am most proud of about 7venth Son is that how often we find a beer for somebody. You know, even if they come in the door just thinking, I'm not going to like this, I hate craft beer. You know, 99% of the time we find a beer they like, which is
sure.
Awesome. So
yeah, I was talking to two people today, and both of them said, I'm not a big beer person. And I said, just give me $20 and 15 minutes of your time, and I guarantee you that we will find something that will turn you into a beer person.
Yeah.
You know, there are beers that you can. Something I said on the website a few times already is that beer now it's innovative because it's becoming more traditional, and it's becoming there's a lot more influence on the culinary aspect of the beer. So you've got beers that you can pair with food even easier than you could wine, in my opinion. There's just so much variety in the styles of beer, the flavors in the beer, and there's so much you can do with it. When you start home brewing, I'm going to add this, this, and this because I want to be able to drink this with this type of food, or, you know, there's so many different nuances to beer, and 7venth Son beers are, I mean, I would say that they're complex, nuanced, and balanced.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a huge compliment.
Which, by the way, I haven't even tried it yet. I poured the next one.
Let me go get that.
So people who are watching, that is the Purple Pistol, and that is I guess, Justin, you want to explain what it is?
Yeah, that's a real tough one to nail down. It's got a grist of like a Belgian Strong Golden would have. It's 100% Brettanomyces. We used saffron in this one. We used a lot of local honey in it, and we also
wine grapes.
We also threw in some wine grapes and secondary fermentation, and it comes out at 11.5%. So it's a pretty good beer.
Yeah,
thank you for letting me know that before I drank the entire bottle during the interview. Yeah, the other day I did an interview with Beard Brewing from Connecticut, and they gave me a pale ale to try, and the next beer I tried was a double IPA. And I'm like, man, this thing is so smooth. And he's like, be careful, it's 9.2%. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is all right. This is an amazing beer. Again, this is another beer which I imagine is sold out already.
Yes.
Yeah, that one sold out pretty quickly as well. They all sell out. We typically don't do more than 500 bottles per run. So, and that's not just to be like uber rare or anything. It's just all we can do. We do it by hand.
Right.
And so over the course of 8 hours, that's what we come up with typically. It's about 500.
Sure. And then so,
Yeah, of a barrel.
is there any plans to reproduce this beer?
This is actually the second time we've done it.
Okay.
We did the same beer last year. We did it a little bit earlier in the year, and it was a smaller batch. We tweaked the recipe a little bit, and yeah, I think this will be a mainstay at the brewery. I'm pretty happy with it.
We didn't use Brett the first time either.
Yeah, we changed the fermentation on it.
I think the Brett really complements this profile much better.
Yeah.
It's
a tough one to do. It takes, I think it was in the fermenter for about 8 weeks before it's was stable enough to go into the bottle.
Yeah, this is. I mean, I can't really give people watching a great nose detailing on this because I'm congested as hell. But even through the congestion, it has a phenomenal You definitely pick up a fruitiness. And when you said honey, I said, oh man, there's tons of honey in there. It like coats your tongue. It's nice and smooth. Does the honey add to the body of a beer?
With the Brettanomyces, not so much. The Brettanomyces tends to work its way through those longer sugar chains a lot better than Saccharomyces will. So if it was all sack beer, I would say, yeah, chances are we're going to get a lot more body out of it. But the Brett cleans that up pretty good.
Sure. And to be, I guess, a little more specific for those people who don't know, we're talking about Brett versus brewer's yeast. Typical,
Right.
well, not necessarily typical brewer's yeast. There's various types of that yeast, but it's not a wild yeast. Yeah, there we go. I love that shirt. I love it. What are some of the notable beers that you maybe laid your hands on while at Sweetwater in Cigar City?
Sweetwater, I would say we did a beer that actually won a gold medal at the World Beer Cup for the wood and sour age category that no one really ever knew about. It was just a batch that they allowed us to brew for reaching some production goals in 1 week that seemed impossible. Our reward was we got to brew whatever beer we wanted, and it was called the Creeper at the time. It never really hit distribution or anything. And that Belgian IPA was kind of a Houblon Chouffe kind of inspired beer. And then that went into barrels where we fruited it and we added our own bacteria culture that we had grown up in the lab there. And after a couple years, I was actually moved on from the brewery to Cigar City by the time we won the award for it. But I'm probably most proud of that, to be a part of that project at Sweetwater. That was really awesome.
Cool.
At Cigar City, I learned how to brew Hunupu, which I would never believe that you could brew that beer had I not been hands-on and actually that land on my shift. That was pretty ridiculous to brew that beer.
Well, I'm brewing at my house next week, and you're more than welcome to come join us. Oh, by the way, we're brewing a Hunupu clone.
Oh, good luck.
Oh, man.
It's tough, man.
I'll pay for a plane ticket.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I would say those are two pretty pretty big beers to be a part of. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Devon, anything that you sticks out here?
Unfortunately for me, I didn't work at Cigar City, but at Sweetwater, I didn't really get to have much input in that regard. And I was kind of too busy to even think about it, to be honest with you. So I enjoyed that. The Creeper was one of my favorite beers at Sweetwater that they put out. And but as far as making the recipe, I can't claim any fame to that. So.
What about now at 7venth Son?
When we first got started, I was big into starting to get the fruit aspect into it. We'd done a lot of research, Justin mainly, on brewing Berliner Weisses before we got started. A lot of trial and error, and that was one of my favorite beers to play with. And so I I was like, what if we tried this? What if we tried this? And then it just kind of, we started to realize what a very blank canvas that beer was, how it's really, you can kind of put anything in it and it makes a whole different aspect and it's really fun, or it's great just as it is. So that was one of my most fun things of starting to get into it. Then Justin's definitely the barrel man, and he's got the skills with that and has proven his worth there. So.
Yeah, I would say so. By the way, I guess we should talk about this beer a little bit more, because it's really awesome. I told you guys I was really excited to try this beer. It's one of those beers that I saw the ingredients that went into it, and I was just blown away. Plus, you guys did a really well, you didn't do it, but you had a really cool video made for this beer.
Yeah. The story of the beer is my friend, he decided he was going to accept the challenge to stop drinking for a year. And after the year was up, his first beer that he wanted it to be this beer. We talked about the recipe. He actually came, helped me brew it, and then after the year passed, we tapped the kegs and we had a little party for him. And it was pretty big success for us, and I really enjoyed the beer, so we decided we'd do it again the next year. And he does film work for his career, and he really wanted to do a video, and he was inspired by the honey aspect and the high ABV and such, that I guess that's where he got the inspiration for the video. And I thought it was pretty cool because it just kind of keeps things a little more fresh, on the beer scene. It's not your typical nerdy video, about what we're putting in the beer. We've all seen that video before. This is a little spicy.
Oh yeah, it's not, and we're not talking about peppers either.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So the reason everyone's laughing is because it's pretty. What's that thing everybody does when they send you an email and they don't want you to open it? NSFW, not safe for work.
Oh yeah. You want to watch that alone in your beer cellar.
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah, if you're a guy or a girl who may, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty awesome video. We're gonna leave it at that. The beer's phenomenal, guys. I freaking love it. I wish I could give more of like an in-depth, nose, but I'm so congested that I can't. I can only imagine, because what I am getting is phenomenal. What are you guys drinking? What do people that own breweries drink on their time off?
Oh, on your time off.
I guess my everyday drinking beer would be all the Founders All Day IPA. That'd be my non-7venth beer. Locally, Cycle. I like their session IPAs a lot. My special occasion beers would be probably some of the Russian River Sours, Cantillons, and Allagash, things like that.
Yeah, it's pretty solid all the way around.
Bandwagon, but we like to drink the same beers. That's as different people as we are. We definitely like the same kind of beer. So that's definitely one of the coolest parts about having a brewery, is making the beer that you like. So I am with him all the way. I love the All Day IPA. I love Fixie from Cycle, and any kind of sour beer I can get my hands on, especially Cantillon, Russian River, stuff like that. So.
Cantillon is so hard to come by, but somehow you guys have managed to become harder to come by than Cantillon.
Oh, that's a compliment.
Yeah.
The little thing I got back here, I'm starting to fill it with Cantillon. You can see the little guy, right?
Oh, nice. Yeah. I was wondering about
that.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, because I opened this now, there is no more 7venth Son in there. So
no.
You officially become rarer than Cantillon. Oh no. Do you guys have a? Let's get back to I guess information. You guys have a 4.5 barrel system. Did you start smaller, or did you start off with a 4.5 barrel system?
It's actually 3.5 barrels of finished beer that it produces each batch, and that's what we've started on since day one. And yeah, it runs pretty hard now.
The way that we've expanded our volume is we started out in basically 600 square feet. you were in the tasting room. Anyone who's ever been in the tasting room area where the bar is, before you walk through the door to go next door where the brewery is now, that was the original space. That was the only space that we had.
Wow.
We used wine fermenters, and now we've since grown. We've got 7-barrel fermenters in the brew house that you see now. But we're using the same brew house, but we have new fermenters.
Cool.
We're doing a lot of fermentation in wood now, so that's kind of exciting. That's like basically our expansion, if you will. At 7th Sons, we added more wood cellar fermentation.
Plus,
I noticed that when I was there. You guys have barrels lined up against walls and stuff.
Yeah.
I love it. I think it's awesome. Are you guys doing a lot of blending or single barrel kind of releases?
The bigger barrels are typically single batch, and when we get down to the smaller 15-gallon size and below, we'll do blending with those.
Cool. The only reason I ask is because I want to buy a small barrel for my garage.
Okay.
All right. So your website says, and for those of you who haven't been to the website, please do yourself a favor and go check them out. Your focus is on Belgians, IPAs, barrel aged, and oak sours. Now, coming from Sweetwater and coming from Cigar City, I would say that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would say that that's not their focus. So what were your influences to make that your focus?
Beer we like to drink.
Yeah, that's pretty simple. Yeah, we started out brewing a beer that we wanted to drink, and took it from there. Just kind of hit the ground running and see how people would receive it, and it's been really well received. Cigar City, I did learn a good bit about spirit barrel aging there. They do a really good job with that.
Sure.
But then moving into the wine and using the wild fermentation in the wood, that was something we reached out. We visited, made a lot of trips out to the West Coast. We visited breweries that were doing that, and I tried to befriend anyone that I knew that had any background in that, and build it from there.
Cool. What are some of the breweries that you would say were your biggest influences in starting the brewery, the style you guys started in?
Oh man, at that time it'd be Russian River, Lost Abbey, Allagash. I think Jester King was just coming around then. It sounds kind of funny, but Goose Island actually has a really good regiment for wild beers and a huge wood sound with that thing.
Yeah,
but they were a big inspiration as well.
Yeah, we've got an interview coming up just like this. Well, I haven't said it yet, but I guess I will say it now because I started with Jeff from Jester Kings. I'm looking forward to talking to him about his barrel aging and things like that. What do you think is the biggest challenge with barrel aging?
For us, it's the lack of a forklift. we don't have any space.
Yeah, it's
so if we had more space, I think we could definitely expand it out and offer more variety and on a more regular basis. In Florida, it's really hot, so we need to have a climate-controlled space in order to get the characteristics that we are looking for out of our beers. So that's kind of a challenge.
Sure.
Definitely the space is the biggest thing.
Brewing those beers right next to beers that aren't meant to have Brettanomyces and these bacteria in it is probably the biggest challenge in the brewery. We brew a lot of IPAs, and we have our wheat beer, Graffiti Orange, and they're brewed right next to each other. I mean, they sit, those sour barrels are literally right next to those fermenters. So making sure that we don't get that equipment crossed over or move that bacteria into a place we don't want it is a really big challenge in the brewery.
I'm happy you brought that up because a lot of people that I talked to about this interview with, they know you do a lot of stuff with Brett, and a lot of people that are now starting to do home brewing, and a lot of people want to do stuff with Brett. But the problem I think that a lot of people have with wanting to go into Brett is that they're scared of, then I'll never be able to brew another pale ale without Brett in it. What's kind of the trick to keeping them separated? Is there like a certain thing that you can do to kind of, as much as possible, prevent infection in the rest of your?
To keep things kind of separate, we actually use a completely different set of equipment for each. If it's a non-sack beer, it has its own set of equipment, and it's coated with color-coded gaskets or red tape, or if it's bacteria, we have yellow equipment for that. So it's pretty easy for the brewers to pick up a piece of a hose or clamps, valves, whatever, and know exactly what it's used for in the brewery. But we have a pretty intense CIP regimen as well. We over clean, if you will.
Yeah, and I think that's the one takeaway for anyone who's brewing at home is you know, cleaning is the #1 concern, right? I mean, the rest of it is adding in what you want at a specific time, or keeping your temperatures constant. But one of the biggest things, I guess, for somebody who would want to try and brew beers in the style that you're brewing beers is cleanliness.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's 100%. We spend more time cleaning than we do anything else.
What was the reason behind the name of the brewery?
All right. So basically, when we were trying to come up with a name, the number 7 is a lucky number for me. We actually, side note, we actually had our opening day on my birthday, January 7th. And so we wanted to have 7 incorporated in the name, just kind of honestly looking around Google searching, trying to be inspired, and came across the legend of the seventh son is supposed to have mythical powers. And so we just kind of took SON, switched it to SUN because we're in the Sunshine State. And I was like, I really like that name. And then, like I said, my dad's a graphic designer, and I was like, what kind of logo do you think come up with this? And he came up with the current logo we have, and I was like, that's it, 100%. That's the name. That's the logo. I love it. So
it's a really cool logo. For those of you who don't know what it is, it's that. And it's on Justin's hat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did your dad do the labels on the beers that I've shown today?
Actually, those two he did not do. Diego has I believe the name of the company or the guy in there is something 27, M27, I think.
There's an artist down there. In South Florida.
Yeah, we did that logo, and then we were telling you the story of Purple Pistol, and our friend, the first year that we made it, he was so excited about the beer, we didn't bottle it or anything. He's like, can I make a logo for it? Can I make a label? And we're like, sure, go for it. So he actually made that label. It's a photo that he took with a girl with makeup on, is then kind of photoshopped up a little bit. So he made the whole thing.
Cool. I think it's so cool that you guys are using friends and family to create the beer, the logos, some of the ideas for the beer. And I think that's what craft beer is all about. I mean, have you guys noticed that the community has embraced you in a way that you've got regulars that go in, and you've got have you guys been accepted in Dunedin as a like a legitimate business, not this like, oh no, evil beer, alcohol,
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're definitely a spot for locals to hang out. They typically come like during the week. On the weekends, we have a lot of beer tourists coming through, so it gets kind of crowded. You won't see the locals in there on Friday and Saturday as much, but during the week, that's the neighborhood spot.
And Sundays.
Isn't it funny how this last year during legislative session they tried to make it seem like the big evil beer is coming to get your children.
I think that's too far from the truth.
No, I think you misunderstood his question. Like are you talking about some of the legislative issues that we had? And
yes, I am. See, I mean, that's yes.
The person who was pushing them was just like, trying to protect the safety of our children from craft beer.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what you're talking about? Okay.
Yeah, you guys don't. I know the brewers don't want to mention any names, but so I guess I won't. But I'm very disappointed in her or him. Her.
Her? Well, I mean, it was
because,
public knowledge who it was.
Yeah.
But we'll go ahead along with the thing. If you research anything on it, you'll know who it was.
Yeah.
You know what I will do? Let's take a moment right now to say thank you for Senator Latvala for being very vocal and being
also,
very pro-business, because that's what this is. This isn't an evil empire of alcohol and get your children drunk. This is becoming an art. This is an art.
Yeah.
It's a business just as legitimate as any other business right next door.
Absolutely.
And so, I know the state representatives get it. I think the state representatives get it because they're a little. I think that most of the representatives are younger, and I feel like they get it. But in the Senate, I mean, Latvala was really the champion for you guys this last year.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, he had our back the whole way. Very thankful for that.
Yeah.
So, Senator Latvala, thank you.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers to you. All right.
Let me throw in there too. Dana Young, she is the majority whip in the House. She was also
Right.
incredibly supportive. She's been fighting for us as well. So,
Right.
as people know, Dana Young, vote for her.
Right. And our friend down here was very supportive of the laws too. Representative Frank Artiles.
Mm. Awesome.
So he's another one that's fighting for you guys. So that's good to know. And I'm friends with some of the other state representatives, and I've been in their ear like crazy. So hopefully this next year, we'll see how close they are to me.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Anyways, all right. So I guess what would you guys say? I mean, you guys are a small brewery. I love that. I love walking into a brewery, and I know some breweries want to stay small. Is your guys' goal to stay at the size you're at, or do you guys want to expand and be able to, send your beer to Miami and for us to get it, maybe get it to New York? And what's the goal for 7venth in the next 5 years and then 10 years?
We want to open a production facility that still has a pilot brewery, that maintains that small field that 7venth was built on. The demand for our quote core beers, if that's the term we want to use, is pretty high, and we just can't quite get over the hump and make this something that we're going to do until we retire, until we grow the business. So we're gonna keep the brewery that we have now, 7venth in Dunedin, and then build a separate production facility. As far as shipping to outside of the state, I don't really ever see that being part of our plan. We take a lot of pride in our beers staying local and being fresh and local to Florida.
Sure.
Occasionally we send some beer to New York. We send some beer to Yeppa's bar up there, and sometimes we send stuff to McKellar and various competitions throughout the United States. But as far as having any kind of mainstream supply of beer leaving Florida, that's not in our plan.
Cool. I can completely not that it matters what I think, but I would completely respect that. I mean, that's something. I think it's a big part of craft beer is that there's a lot of local collaboration. And I think that's important. I think you're building a community. It's a big part of building a community and lifting other businesses up that maybe not even craft beer businesses, just by staying local. So I can respect that, and I applaud you guys for that. When I didn't know this, but when are you opening a production facility?
As soon as possible. It's been a long road. We've been working on it for a couple of years, and it's tough. Our biggest thing is we want to maintain 100% ownership for it, and hopefully down the road become an employee-owned company with that. So that's been a real big challenge for us, not just taking everybody that walks up and wants to give us money and buy our business. So yeah, hopefully sooner than later. I would anticipate some good news soon.
That's awesome. I love that about our generation. It's like, we don't sell out our principles for a little extra money or for quicker money.
Yeah.
And the fact that you want to keep it employee-owned and you're willing to wait the extra time to make sure that you open it on your terms, I think speaks kind of like as a voice for our generation. To be cheesy, but I think it's what craft beer is about too. I mean, we're doing things on our terms. We're brewing beer that we want to drink. You like it, you don't. You know what? There's Dunedin may have something that you like.
Yeah, we have a lot of different offerings here in town.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about that? I mean, Tampa and the surrounding area is blowing up. For Florida craft beer drinkers, Tampa. I mean, I consider Tampa and the surrounding areas, Dunedin, Gulfport, St. Pete, kind of the mecca of beer for Florida. I mean, we're starting to come up down here. We have one production brewery. Actually, take that back. MIA Brewing just had their opening this last week.
Mm-hmm. Yep, congratulations.
And they're producing phenomenal beers. I mean, out of control. And then we've got, Wynwood Brewing. We've got Wakefield. John Wakefield is going to open up a brewery down here, who is kind of tearing up the state with his Florida vices.
Indeed.
And so we've got stuff that's opening up down here, but still Tampa and Dunedin in your area is the mecca. Has that helped you guys along the way, you think?
I think it's very helpful. I'm really glad that we got our foot in the door when we did early, before that happened, because now, the media, you get a little, it seems to me anyways, as limited as I follow it, all the openings kind of seem to wash out a little bit, where when the first few got going, it was really, really the big hype, and everybody was really excited. Not to say that people aren't as excited now, it's just concentrated on a wider area than it was when we initially opened up. But I think it's great. Beer tourism is awesome. Look what it's done for areas like Asheville and the Front Range, Colorado, all up and down California, up to Portland.
Right. Asheville, wicked weed.
Yeah, those guys.
All I gotta say is wicked weed. Are you guys gonna? Please tell me. I mean, you don't have to if you can't, but please tell me your collaboration with Wicked Weed.
Walt and I have discussed it. We're both very busy, but I'm sure it'll happen sometime.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, they've invited us to our place for some of their festivals, and I consider those guys to be pretty good friends, and also outstanding industry peers as far as what they're producing.
I haven't had a bad beer from you or from them, so I can only imagine. It'd be like Captain Planet. You guys wear like a ring.
Yeah. We're quite busy with collaborations actually since you brought it up. In 2 weeks we're doing one with Angry Chair, who's local up here. Those guys are pretty awesome. And then we've got one coming up in November with Evil Twin. And then what else do we have?
Are you Saint Somewhere?
Yeah, Saint Somewhere. Yep, we're doing that.
Tarpon Springs.
Yeah. Bob and I have a pretty good sense of humor, so I'm sure there'll be some sarcasm associated in that here.
I'm sure the label will be funny.
There you go. Yeah, his collaboration labels are great. He's got one with Prairie where he's kind of like just a head coming out of the sand.
Yeah, I think there's something on his forehead there too.
What's funny is I was talking to Bob the other day, and we're gonna do an interview with him, and then I was like, how funny would it be if we could bring Chase from Prairie in and bust his chops spoiler alert. Bust his chops about his brother painting you on the label, and it's just your head coming out of the sand.
It's perfect.
And he goes, that would be pretty good. And so I emailed Chase immediately. I was like, are you going to be part of this? And he's like, yes. So I get a chance to fuck with both of them.
Nice.
That's going to be a good time.
Pretty cool. They're doing 3 collaborations together.
Wow.
Yeah. What are you guys collaborating with Saint Somewhere with?
It's going to be a beer for our Halloween event. Every year we try to have a big blowout event. This year it's going to be 3 days long. The first day we're going to be doing kind of a haunted farmhouse theme, so we'll have a lot of our saisons, farmhouse-inspired beers on that Friday, and we'll be featuring that collaboration that day.
That's awesome. How important is it, now that we're in collaboration, before we move on, how important is it to support each other? I guess, is it supporting each other doing collaborations? How important do you find collaborations to be with maybe even like I said, like with Gravity, who's not even really open yet? How important would a collaboration be to a brewery like that, and how important is it for you to collaborate with other breweries in the state?
I guess every collaboration has its own kind of thing to it. I mean, they all mean a different thing. One we do with Dunning Brewery, it's almost become tradition, and people anticipate it. So I mean, that's the motivation there. Sometimes we're just trying to learn more about the other brewery, learn what they do and they learn what we do, and we have a lot of fun. It's very educational. Sometimes it's sarcastic. Sometimes we're just being ourselves, kind of letting everything hang out. There is collaborations that, say if we were to go collaborate with New Belgium and they're going to package that and sell that in all their markets, that would be really big for me. Probably not as big of an impact for them.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
that's a really good answer. I mean, and piggybacking on that, you've already had a collaboration with some amazing breweries, and you've got some amazing breweries planned for collaborate with. Let me speak proper English here. But both of you mentioned some of the beers that inspire you, and both of you kind of, when you said Cantillon, something in your faces just kind of like lit up. Do you consider that to be maybe like a dream collaboration? What would be a dream collaboration? If you could have like a genie and rub a lamp, and the collaboration would have tomorrow, what would it be?
For me, it probably wouldn't necessarily be another brewery, but it'd be a rock band or a famous guitar player. I listen to a lot of Fish. So if I got to brew a beer with Trey Anastasio, that would be my dream collaboration. So kind of going outside of the lines there. Cantillon, absolutely, that would be the biggest honor that I've ever had.
That would be such an honor, and yeah.
What about American Brewery?
I think it'd be fun to do one with Tired Hands, honestly. I mean, or Russian River, of course. They're incredible.
So what is it about? I mean, look, I get it, but there may be people that don't. But what is it about Russian River that every single interview I do, Russian River comes up as the like golden boy staple? Vinny is like a god.
I think
what is it about Vinny that makes him the collaboration for you? Like,
he's a pioneer, and they make incredible beers. I mean,
they kind of started it. I mean, they were the first ones in the show that were really doing some cutting edge, consistent, awesome sours that were more available than other lambics that we couldn't get here in the United States. I think being the first one to the game as a major player has led to them being referenced so frequently.
And not to mention, too, that they also make incredible IPAs. And then on top of that, he's extremely forthcoming with his information and helpful and everything like that. So he's nurtured a lot of breweries that have come, in his path behind him. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback on your answer with nurturing and very forthcoming with information. You can Google, which this is my favorite IPA in the world. As much as I love your guys' IPAs, I had all of them while I was there. Is Pliny the Elder. I mean, to me, it's kind of like the perfect. The first time I had it, I was just wow. Okay, I Googled, Pliny the Elder clone, and the guy puts his recipe in an interview. That's amazing. No other industry is someone going to do that. You're never going to see M&M's putting their M&M recipe on.
Let me just add to that I think, one of the things that's awesome about craft beer is that you could probably give the exact recipe to 5 different breweries, even with the weight of grain, everything. And, those 5 different breweries are going to make 5 different beers. Because not one of them is going to be able to stand not putting their own twist on it. And then on top of that, the way that your process is, the system that you're doing it on, all those things, your personality, we imprint what we want on the beer. So that's what's cool about it, is he can do that and not be afraid that somebody's going to go make their own Pliny the Elder,
So what is so as to that answer, what do you think Seven Sons' imprint is? What would you say is your guys' persona, personality, what you're putting into any beer that you're gonna go brew?
We're not afraid to step outside of the box and try new things, and when it doesn't work out, we're not afraid to admit that. When we were kind of more an improvisational brewers there. We take it very seriously, but not serious to style, so to speak. We take flavors and we combine things that aren't traditional. We do things unconventionally.
We always are trying to, push the boundaries, do things that are different, not be afraid for it to go wrong. If it's so wrong, then we won't serve it. We're always trying to learn through our process and develop new things, because it gets boring to just do the same thing all the time. I mean, that's what backgrounds we came from. That's why this is fun for us, because we get to do whatever inspires us, and it's great. And we also have an incredible staff that's really creative, and so.
How will you balance that love for stepping out of the box and the passion for being able to do what you want to do at all times with opening a production brewery?
That's a tough question. That's the same way a popular band goes from playing bars to rock arenas. It's very difficult to translate that.
That's a good analogy.
Although I would say that I don't think we're going to rock arena.
No, we're not going to the rock arena. Say we're going to a theater instead of a bar.
Okay, right.
But
kind of like MGMT.
Yeah, MGMT. Yeah,
Yeah.
When they come to Miami, they still play the Fillmore. They could fill up an arena, but they don't care to. They want to play their music.
That's
Yeah,
exactly
yeah.
right.
Sorry for all the music references, but that's really where we get a lot of inspiration through how artists grow their bands and grow their fan base, and we do this similar things at 7th Son.
We're going to be able to basically make a lot of our beers more available, but at the same time maintain our identity, do a lot of pilot batches, and still have fun with it.
Yeah, I mean that's really cool because it allows you guys to stay close to your fans.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and that's one thing that I think has helped craft beer grow is that you can walk into your brewery and you're gonna be there, and people can ask you questions of, maybe some of the same questions I'm asking you, but people are gonna have the opportunity to meet the person who's creating what they're enjoying, and it's nice that you guys want to maintain that. I think there's a lot to be said for that.
Thank you.
So, so we've talked about favorite maybe your dream collaboration, your inspirational. Did we talk about your inspirational? I think we did. Yeah, we did. What are some of the? If you could name 2 beers that you brewed at 7th Son that would be the identity of 7th Son, I guess that best embody your style and your persona as a brewery. What would those 2 beers that you've brewed be?
Can I just say before we answer this, if
Sure.
you ever ask this to somebody again where there's more than one person, you should make them write it down on a piece of paper and then show it individually. See if they're the same thing. Just kidding.
Yeah. Since we have the opportunity to choose 2, I'll go back to my usual thing: my everyday beer and my special occasion beer. My everyday beer is going to be the Time Bomb. I'm really proud of that session IPA. That category right now is red hot, and I drink more of that beer than I do any other beers we have at the brewery. My special occasion beer is going to be the Wolf Moon, and that's a Berliner Weiss that we brewed, and I aged it in Chardonnay barrels, additional Brettanomyces with sliced mangoes, and that's the champagne for me that we've produced.
Yeah, I was dying to try that beer. That sounded so phenomenal.
Yeah, and it's funny because as you were asking the question, those are the exact same 2 beers that I thought of.
Oh, you're a liar.
I'm not lying. I swear. I was like Time Bomb and Wolf Moon, but just to be different.
No, you don't have to be different. If that's it.
As 2 other beers that I would say, because why not? We're 2 people. Let's add. It's hard to pick 2 beers as it is. I would say, Berliner Weiss. I can't pick a favorite Berliner Weiss. Just Berliner Weiss. That's one of my favorite. That's my go-to every time if it's on tap. That's what I'm drinking. And then maybe it's just because I miss it because it's been a while and it's we're going into fall. But Guilty Pleasure is a cherry chocolate porter that we did, and a Belgian porter, I should say. And it's good. We don't make a lot of dark beers, so that's kind of a unique, fun one that we make.
What would you? Okay, so those are the beers that kind of personify 7th Son. But what would you say is the identity of 7th Son? I mean, we talked about it. You're not afraid to go to the box. But is there I mean, look, when you taste a beer from 7th Son, I tried a variety of beers while I was there. I've had 2 more today. Each of them very different in style, smell, taste. But there's a sense of, for lack of a better term, terroir to it. You can tell this is a beer that you guys brewed. Why? How can I tell that?
Well, I mean, it's convenient that they're both done with Brettanomyces and the same Brettanomyces, so that's going to lend a lot of similar flavors to them. Yeah, I don't know. I never really thought about it like that. You can definitely tell when you're drinking a 7th Son beer. Maybe you have a good.
I don't know.
I
don't know.
That's hard for me. I'm pretty close to the window to see that one.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you need to start thinking about that. But you guys have an identity, seriously, to your beers. And we've talked about a lot of your barrel aging, a lot of your Brett beers. But something that you guys have mentioned, and something that I've noticed, and actually when I was there with Wayne from Cigar City. Wayne Wambles is the brewmaster from Cigar City. You guys obviously know that, but and he was head over heels for you guys' IPAs. You know, he was, oh, this is phenomenal. You should have heard him talking with people at the brewery about him. So I mean, you guys are producing these crazy complex, intricate, barrel-aged Brett beers, and then you're also producing at the other end of the spectrum really clean but like flavorful and juicy IPAs. So you know, I guess what I'm saying is I can tell 7venth Son when I'm drinking one of these Brett beers. For some reason, I can tell. I don't know why. I guess maybe I'm just crazy.
There's not a lot of
But there's a lot more to you guys. You guys aren't one-dimensional. You guys aren't, yeah, we're just going to be outside of the box barrel-aged beers. We're going to be produce a consistent IPA also.
We put a little bit of our soul into every single beer. That's it.
I'm tasting your soul.
Yes.
You have a tasty soul.
Yes.
That sounds weird.
Let's take it back to a band reference again. Just like, you know, even though a band can be very versatile and they can play all sorts of different kinds of music, there's definitely a familiarity to like the way a guy plays a guitar, the way the drum sounds. I would say that's probably maybe a little bit of what you're getting. And
right.
Yeah. So, and because we're really passionate about it, there's a lot, you know, maybe it's a little bit more knocking you over the head than some other people.
You know what? Thinking about it, you guys are the Stone Temple Pilots of beer. All right? Yeah, that's one of my favorite bands. And the reason they've been one of my favorite bands since I was, oh, geez, 10 maybe? I don't know how old I was. I was young when I started. I've always been into music. So they have maintained a sense of style. You know you're listening to Stone Temple Pilots, but it's completely different every time. I mean, each CD they put out is different, but their style is the same.
Yeah.
It's weird. And I think that's what you guys have conquered, and that's awesome because you know what that means is that they've been able to evolve with the time and change the time and stay relevant with the times. Yeah. And I think that's what 7venth Son's going to do. You ever think about it that way?
I think it's really important to keep your finger on the pulse. I mean, we still try a lot of beers. We still have beer tastings when we travel. You know, all our travel winds up being associated with what time can we get to this brewery and see what this new guy's doing, you know, or get to this restaurant, you know, all those things. You know, just trying to stay with it, you know, and it's not really hard work. It's pretty fun.
Yeah. All right. What's the most important thing you think you've learned since you've opened 7venth Son?
How to be an entrepreneur and not just a brewer and not just a beer enthusiast. That's important. That's one thing that I don't think a lot of people think about when they're getting into opening a brewery.
Right.
It's a real business. You know, There's a lot to learn there.
Right. And we talked about it before the interview. You know, I own my own business as well, and it's for what people tell you. Get ready. It's a lot of work. You don't have any appreciation for what it entails until you're in it.
Yeah.
And it's a whole other ballgame. I mean, it's just the stress level is so high. But you know, I hear a lot of homebrewers say we produce a really good this, we produce a really good that. My concern is, I mean, are you concerned with this too? Is you know, the life of this industry is going to depend on how savvy these same people are. I mean, you can produce an amazing beer, and you might sell a lot of that beer, but if you're not running your business, if you're not running your brewery like a business as well, I mean, are you really going to be around that long? is that my concern is that a lot of people aren't looking at it as a business. They're just like, well, we're just going to go and we're going to homebrew on a whole other level.
Yeah, I mean, there's two different sides to that. There's some guys that are more business than they are about beer, and those guys scare me more than what you're referring to. I think good beer, you know, sells itself, and if you're adept, you can, you know, lean on your mentors and reach out to people and understand the business side of it a lot easier than if you're a business guy just trying to sell beer that's not good. And,
sure.
And we see a lot of that, and I think that's the most dangerous thing that's
sure.
happening in our industry.
And that's a good answer, and I think I asked the question maybe wrong because your answer is I agree with it 100%. I guess my fear is you're going to have home brewers producing beers that are extremely expensive and not know how to manage their book, not know how to manage employees, not know how to manage, like, you know, Devon working at Anheuser and being a project manager at Saltwater, you know, you've got you've got the best of the best experience in that realm, and it's going to help Seventh Son continue to grow at a pace that Seventh Son should grow at to maintain your goal.
I
My
would say,
concern.
I would say even given our backgrounds, like for us, it's been still a big learning curve for us in the business aspect, even with our backgrounds. So that's true. I think one of the bigger challenges for someone who was only homebrewed before versus not worked in a production facility, trying to open a production facility, I think that's more challenging. That finding that knowledge, educating yourself in that way is more difficult than a lot of people have resources. You can find resources. You can manage. You can pay somebody to do your taxes, manage your books, do your payroll, blah blah blah. But I think that anybody who's seriously looking into opening a brewery should follow in like John Wakefield's steps, and he's gone out and done the due diligence of working in different breweries and getting that experience, because it's not the same thing from a stovetop to a production facility. So that I think is a really important thing. But I agree with Justin. I think that the passion behind the quality is there, even if the experience isn't. So that passion is going to at least get you over the hurdles and get you to a good product at the end result. Whereas more of the business-oriented people, they're just in it to make a buck. They don't care about the quality, and that's why those will fail versus the other way.
That's an awesome answer, and I think that's a good place to kind of end this thing. We've gone over a lot today. I want to thank you guys for your time and for being part of what we're doing here. I'm trying to be a voice for not only craft breweries as an industry that produces beer, but a craft brewery as family-run small businesses. I think there's a lot more to this industry than people see. And I'm happy to be able to highlight you guys. You guys are one of my top favorite breweries in the country, in the world. Luckily, you're right here in my state. You're a 4.5-hour drive away from me, so I can go see you if I really want to. And I'm happy to highlight you guys because I don't want people going to Tampa, going to visit Cigar City and visiting Cigar City only. I want people to go out and see what Seventh Son is all about. I think you guys are really important in pushing this kind of, let me pull the picture up here again. This kind of beer. This is something that a lot of breweries in our state aren't necessarily doing. Most breweries in our state aren't focused on the kinds of beers you guys are focused on. And I think it's important to grow a craft beer industry to support our state's outside the box thinkers. And not that I'm saying that Cigar City isn't, because Cigar City definitely is. And I love Cigar City, and they're one of my favorite breweries in the world, probably maybe even my favorite brewery in the world, because it's kind of what brought me into craft beer, in the first place. But we've got to support people like Seventh Son. We've got to support people like you, and we've got to bring you guys into the main fold of the world, the craft beer world. And I think you guys are spread around the world. Anyone you ever talk to that knows about Seventh Son knows the quality of Seventh Son, but you guys are only a 30-minute drive from that brewery that brings a lot of people to Tampa, and I want to make sure I do what I can do to make sure that when people do go to Tampa to go visit Cigar City, they're making that extra 30-minute drive to Seventh Son and see what you guys are all about, because I think you guys deserve it. You guys are producing beers that are out of this world, super complex. It's going to be challenging to people's palates. If you think you're a craft beer drinker and you haven't had a beer like the ones that we've reviewed today on this interview, think again. Get yourself out to Seventh Son and try the beers that they're creating. They're out of this world. And so I want to thank you guys for being a part of this. It's an honor for me to have you on the site.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Thank you
Very much. We appreciate it.
And anything that we can do down here in Miami to make Seventh Son what Seventh Son wants to be, which I think have some sort of distribution, stay in the state, and really makes Florida shine as a beer state. Let us know. And Craft Command is right 100% behind you guys.
I'm gonna take you up on that someday.
You better. And actually, the last thing I want to talk about is you guys are sending beer down to the Key West Brew Fest.
Yes.
Yep.
And I'm going to be there tomorrow. Is there any special beers that people should be making their way? I mean, other than, I guess, do you guys know what you're sending down already, obviously?
Yeah, we know what we're going to have at the festival. Tomorrow night at the Porch is going to be a pretty cool event.
It's actually after party for the fest.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, sorry.
That's going to be,
yeah.
I want to check that.
Devon was telling me the other day, it's Saturday night after the festival.
Yes, that's my understanding.
I heard that it was today.
Oh, it is? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
It's Friday.
Little confusion.
It's more or less a
So it is
pre-party on Friday night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be Friday. Okay.
Yeah.
Tomorrow night at the Porch.
Yeah, they'll be getting 3 special beers that have never left the brewery before. I can't remember.
It's a pineapple, cilantro, Berliner Weiss.
Oh, man.
We have a mango key lime pie beer, and then we did a lemon lime version of Time Bomb, our session IPA, and then we've also opened it up for whatever of our mainstays: Mangrove Double IPA, Graffiti Orange, Time Bomb, and any of those that that they can get. So we'll have a few of those at the fest as well, and then a beer called Tan Man, which I should know more about before I talk
Coconut
about
vanilla Belgian brown.
Thank you. This is why we're a team.
Yeah. So, our 2 brewers that hold the fort down, they're taking a vacation. They're going to be down there serving those beers for everybody. Unfortunately, we're going to miss it this year. But
whoever's going down to Key West, please go visit the 7th Sun tent. Ask about the beers, learn about the beers. I guarantee you're going to get all the answers you want, the questions you want to ask answered.
Absolutely.
And I can't wait till Saturday to try the beers you guys are taking down.
Right. Cool.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much again. I really mean everything I said. You guys are really inspirational, and you guys, I think, are one of the shining stars of Florida brewing, and leading the charge for us here. So, TJ, congrats. TJ's the wrong word.
Cheers.
All right, guys.